going back to the idea of one teacher personalizing for 30 kids and knowing their next move in every area. And a computer can do that so much more efficiently and effectively. And I really liked the part that we read about teachers being more of mentors and taking small groups, because as you all know, there's so many other things we deal with on a daily basis than just the education piece. And there's never enough time for everything. And some kids, and we're noticing it more and more, are coming to school with so much baggage, and they need someone to care about them, and they need someone to talk to them. And we're always in such a hurry to get everything done because there's so much to get done. So I feel like that technology piece will help with that too. Not that I have it all figured out, because I don't, but just the idea that in the next 5 years where we're going to be with technology is going to be insane with how teachers are able to use it. And even like having Dreambox for math, like what are we going to have for reading and, stuff like that, where I think it's just going to kind of all come together, I think, in a couple years. So it's exciting to be on this end of it. Make sense?
Yes. Sounds good.
Yes.
Ditto?
Ditto. First ditto.
What about you guys? What about from special ed perspective? What are you thinking?
Karen?
Well, for me, everything was brand new. They say like blended learning has been around and all this stuff, but I didn't really know much about it.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of all been new to me, and you guys have been doing it kind of all along, like your bits and pieces with like the station rotation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I know with a couple of your students this past year, we all know that they do have a lot more baggage and need someone to talk to, and they end up sucking all your time. But if you can do that and have everyone else doing what they need to be doing,
right,
definitely a step in the right direction.
And I think, it's obviously different for each level. I'm Tracy and I are thankful to actually be in third now, because we feel like it's got a limit with what we can do. K1, we can still do a lot, but I think in third grade and up, it's even, there's more options with that independent piece. But that will change with Dreambox example. K1 can do it completely on their own. They're not going to need any, support from a teacher to do it. So it's just exciting to see, what's out there. But now I understand more why we have iPads for every student too. Because a year ago I was questioning, why aren't we buying a curriculum? We need curriculum. And I was frustrated that we were buying iPads, but we didn't have the curriculum piece. And now it's making more sense to me, because I just don't think the curriculum would get us what the iPads is going to get us in the long run. Does that make sense? There's so much out there online. But when we had 5 desktops to share, or we had carts of Chromebooks that we were fighting over, it was not efficient, and it was very difficult.
So I'm going to add to what you said, Tiffany, because now I think your challenge is going to be a little bit different about now that you're going to have these devices in all these students' hands. Now, how can you harness that? And it's going to be a huge learning curve, I think, for many of there's so much out there now. How do I steer it so that it's going to be most beneficial for my students? And that's going to probably take not just even the first year. It's going to be ongoing for you and for the students and parents.
Yeah.
Well, and the hard part is going to be that as technology changes so much, when we think we have something that's going and working really well, there's probably something else out there that can push it even more.
Yeah, so you're right. I don't think we're ever going to feel like, oh, we got it, we're good, because there's always going to be something new and better. And so it can be overwhelming at times, because no matter what you're doing, you feel like it's not enough and you should be doing more. But I think maybe just taking a step back at times and realizing how much we are doing too.
Anybody else have any thoughts about how their learning's evolved a little bit since starting the study?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Anybody else want to comment about how their learning has maybe evolved around blended learning, about the different models since starting the study together in June?
I think it was good just to be able to see all the different models. You kind of know about them and seen them in classroom, but really to put it all together and the examples was eye-opening for me.
I agree.
I agree too. It was helpful to know what the models were and how, like, I didn't know, and Tiffany, I don't go in their room, but I know that they do blend it, even though I don't know if they thought they were doing it. Whereas I go to another room and they don't want to use technology at all.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, Erica, for us too. Like, we have no idea what other teachers are doing in their classrooms, where you and Karen do, because you're in other classrooms, so you know what's going on. But we really don't. And so it would be, I guess for you guys to know, like, if teachers are ever talking about that they want to include it, or you're talking to them and kind of explaining it, and, if I don't know, like, we would be so more than willing to share and, go ideas together and, kind of brainstorm and whatever, because we do have these iPads now.
Right.
So you can't really hide from the technology anymore. And I understand completely that people are at all different levels of, being comfortable. But, I think the more open we can all be to help people and encourage people, the better, because otherwise it can be so scary. And I know some of the teachers at Bethesda, had them for 4 years. The first day they got them, they were literally crying, the teachers, because they had no idea what to do with them. And so if we can prevent that, that'd be great.
Well, one benefit that you all have is because you're one of the last waves to roll these out with kids. You can definitely ask around to your colleagues at other schools about what some of their pitfalls were to help avoid those. Some you're going to have to just learn. You're going to have to fail forward, I believe, just to learn until you find that sweet spot in your comfort zone. But the benefit of being one of those last schools to get them and to roll them out is learning from others and hopefully being able to maybe avoid some of the major pitfalls that they encountered.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like we were on the committee to bring, the technology in, and we learned so much from what other schools had done, even with our rollout. And one of the biggest things that we learned was it's not your iPad. The district bought it for you. You're using it. And when we used that language, we had very few situations this thing from February when we got them, where the kids were sneaking app or using apps that they weren't supposed to or whatever, because they're looking at it like it was a privilege that the district bought it for them. It wasn't theirs. But initially, when they thought it was theirs, oh my gosh, they couldn't wait to get them. And they were going to put this game in this game, in this game. And they were looking at it like their new gaming tool, their new gaming system. So we wouldn't have known that had we not learned that from other schools. So I agree. There is much to learn from them.
Why don't we move on? Now that you've got some face-to-face time with the four of you, are there any things that you want to bounce off each other now that you're in kind of a more verbal or face-to-face environment, if you will, with things that you're just thinking about? Because we're on the horizon here of coming back next week, and you're going to get bombarded with everything else that's going on. In all the work that you've done this summer around the study and around the book, just kind of wondering if there's things that you're wondering about that you want to bounce off of one another here in this forum.
One thing that I'm thinking about is, what about students, just because Tiffany, you've experienced this, that struggle using technology appropriately? Last year that had to be almost completely off it. Base everything off on things that are on the technology. I mean, that's going to come up. Or if there's ever, I don't know if there's ever been parents that just refuse completely let their kids have iPad time or screen time. I don't know if that's come up anywhere.
Oh, I'm sure it has. Well, if you do go on the district website, on the main page, I don't know if I can pull it up here. There's a section on the Waukesha One website. There's tons and tons of information there. when I first joined the district, I was told, go here and read it. This whole Google site stuff, this Google site here, there's tons of stuff in here for students, for parents, and for staff, and then a really nice FAQ area that you might want to check out. That the FAQ especially, because I think there's a lot in there that has come up, and certainly something that you brought up about, for sure, about parents just flat out refusing. How do you deal with that, especially in the elementary level, I would assume. You might want to check that out to help you with some of those conversations.
I'm hoping, Karen, that he's like 1 in a million, because Sharon, he was so, I don't even know how to explain it, but I'm hoping we're not going to have a lot of kids like that. Hello, she made it!
Hi, Carol.
You're on mute. Can you, yeah, see
Up
if
here,
you can
make sure
unmute.
you turn this off.
There you go.
You're
All
good.
right.
Yay! Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi.
Right now, we're just talking about any ideas or things that you want to bounce off of each other now that you're sort of here together, if you will, rather than in a Google community. Do you have any ideas as you start gearing up for the school year of things that you're wondering about and you want to bounce ideas or even questions off each other?
Well, in my case, I wonder how can I work with my special ed kids? How can I intentionally planning around that in just in the technology? That's the only thing that I still wonder. And the other thing is my new teacher. He's not really into a lot of technology, and I didn't have a chance to talk to him about it, and so that's a big wonder.
Mm-hmm. And I do know him. He's student taught with one of my Spanish teachers. He's very, very excited, and had a chance to work with him at PSI. So yeah, you're gonna be a big capacity builder for him and with him this year. I know that.
Okay. That's the second question that we have right now.
Yeah, we're just kind of brainstorming if there's anything that, like, as we're on the horizon, starting our work days next week. All the things that you've been brainstorming as you've been reading and chit-chatting about through the Google Plus community. Are there questions or ideas that you have that you want to bounce off each other? Because really, for this to take hold, you can't do it alone. You need the support of your coworkers. So as you're gearing up for the school year, are there things that you want some feedback on?
I do have a question for Tracy and Tiff, because I consider them more like pro in this area. I do only have 4 computers in my classroom, and I don't have any any program in Spanish. And I wonder how you guys handle only with, I don't know, you only have 4 computers too, or 1 computer, or only iPads?
We do. The kids really only use iPads at this point. We kept 4 desktops, but it was more for adding images in when we couldn't do that from Google Drive when they were adding pictures to their presentations and things. But they didn't use the desktops for anything. They used iPads for everything. Are you
even for testing?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Even for testing, you use iPad
for testing. What did we do?
Like math, for example.
We use the Chromebooks for math testing.
Oh, maybe I can do that now and get rid of my desktop. When it's about environment and trying to work with my classroom, computer desktop is a huge space without it takes a lot of space from my classroom. So I was wondering if I take it now and use only Chromebooks or maybe iPad for testing. I don't know. I use Hangouts right now.
Okay.
As testing, and I need a computer, so I don't know.
I would probably wonder.
You need a computer for yourself, are you saying, or you need a computer for pals?
For pals. I'm not using computer at all, but I have 4, and
Okay.
a lot of space.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if you went down to even just 2 of them for right now and see how the year goes.
The
Figure it out.
MAPS testing, I can tell you this, at STEM Saratoga this year, they were one of the first schools to use iPads with that. And it worked. There was a couple glitches, but they did use the iPads for it.
I don't use
I'm not
MAPS,
familiar
only PALS and CPAA.
And I don't know
For
anything
my-
about PALS.
Yeah.
So I do have 4 desktop, but I don't know if I better remove them.
Well, I would keep 2 at least for some of our friends that might not be using the iPads appropriately. But still need to do work.
Yeah,
And that could still be a
Okay.
center
At
of
least
some
two.
sorts.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm curious if we're going to have Chromebooks. Does anybody know?
How many do you guys have right now?
I don't know.
Do you have like a cart?
4 carts.
Oh, I don't see them getting rid of them. I think they still
Okay.
have a use. Maybe they'll keep them in the library or something like that. Again, it's an elementary school, so I'm not sure, but I don't think that
Right.
they'll take those away. They're still functional, right?
Yeah.
Definitely check with, I mean, there's definite advantages sometimes to using the Chromebooks. And I don't know, like, I'm sure grades 3 and above are more independent when it comes to using some of the Google functions as opposed to like Kinder, but the Chromebooks definitely, because they're a Google product, play better with our Google platform than the iPads. That can be a hassle. Just like what you were saying before with Google Slides. It's getting better, but that's when some of my middle school teachers actually used the desktops. They checked out a lab. Kids worked on the iPads on a Google Slide presentation, but when they needed to insert photos or things like that, they did have to use a desktop or like a Chromebook. So if you already have the devices, I don't see why they would take those away. And certainly they'd probably still rely on those for your standardized testing to some degree, I would imagine.
Okay.
But obviously, that's just me thinking like common sense. If something's still working, I'm probably not going to take away
Yeah.
a resource.
Right.
Yeah, cross your fingers. That's something definitely to talk with your new principal about. We only have a couple minutes left honestly. So I'm just curious, we could just go one by one. If each of you could just like maybe give like the headliner of, as you're going into next year, there's a lot of things to consider, and certainly blended is not the only thing on your plate. There's so many other things. So if you could take like one nugget of something that you learned or you found beneficial that you're like, yep, I'm really going to commit to trying this and really seeing it through with my kids, because I think it'll blend well with something I'm already doing or something I want to try. So if you could just highlight maybe one next step or one idea that you have that you are kind of going public with right here to say, I'm going to do this next year with my students. And if each of you could comment on that before we wrap up.
I think the one thing Tiff and I talked about this summer that we want to commit to is goal setting with our kids and meeting with our kids every week or every other week and goal set and keeping tabs on what they're doing when they're doing their personalized learning with their menus and how it's going for them. So that's what we would like to really grab a hold of and try this year.
And so that's the personalized learning. Are your students going to have learner profiles?
We played around with that idea. I haven't found one that I love yet for third grade. We worked on it a little bit with Heidi last year. So if anybody has suggestions as to a great one for primary, we're open to ideas.
Jeffrey Tagey is our new personalized learning coordinator, K-12, and I know he's got a full plate in terms of, or I think he does, in terms of schools and certain personalized learning programs or sites that he's working with this year. one of the things that he's really shooting for is common language and around what personalized learning is. And one of those facets is streamlining and making more common a learner profile platform. Okay. So I haven't seen any templates for that, but and I know a lot of our personalized learning sites are mostly middle and high school. However, STEM Randall, I'm sure, or STEM Hawthorne, those are both elementary sites. I would definitely talk to your principal about that, because I think that is something that's coming. So, think about that, because if there's something out there that's already being used, or maybe Jeffrey's trying to work on that for the elementary level, that might be something you can tap into rather than reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, good to know.
I'd like to find a way to use the technology, the iPads, more for academics rather than like free time games, because I think with special ed, it's always been easy to say, oh, okay, you've done this work and now you can get some iPad time. Whereas now the iPad can be used as a tool instead of, for games. Mm-hmm. I want to try to do that this year and maybe have the kids do more like some projects on some of the apps. So I have to play with it myself, because I don't feel like I'm not a beginner, but I'm not, like, ooh, ask me questions and I can answer them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Well, in my case, I would love to try to do my own lessons, like using Nearpod. I really love the idea to record myself and do all step by step, because for Spanish, it's really hard to find stuff out there. So if I create it and it's there for them and they can use it at their, their own pace, it will be fantastic. But I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to do it, but I would love it. Even do like story times and record myself doing it, and then ask like questions for comprehension, that kind of stuff, and they can write down or record themselves. That kind of stuff I would love to do.
Mm-hmm. Corel, I'm going to jump right on after you. My goal is to try to support the general ed teachers with what they need help with, since I'm going to be in their classrooms, and if that means helping make Nearpad lessons, that's what I can help with. or find us a chunk of time where I can do a small group and be in a station and just dedicate that time and not get pulled up for something. That's my goal.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
One of you said, I think it was you, Corel, talked about some like sort of like screencasting, and right now I'm using QuickTime to record this, because I thought I had it through Google Live Hangouts, but there are certainly some tools that are free that either you can create, take a video that's already out there and you can insert questions, and then while kids watch them, they're not passively watching. They're actually having to respond to like formative checks along the way. That's certainly something like that would sort of go along with the flipped idea. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can record your own videos and then insert those quick checks into them. Or you can take a video that's already out there, like through YouTube or Vimeo, and put it into one of those tools. One of those tools is TED Ed, I think. Another one is... I use EduCanon. There's one that my teachers like to use as well, and it's blanking on me right now. But and that can be very simple if you give kids the link to that video. Then while they're watching, they get asked questions along the way, so it becomes more interactive for them. And that's something I'm thinking about off the top of my head right now. And then, Erica, you talked about educational use of iPads versus free time. That's such a sweet spot, because kids still view it as a toy, and reteaching kids how to actually harness that as a learning tool. And I think that's the $1 million question for a lot of teachers, is how do I balance And certainly there are games out there that kids could use as free time, but that could also be a station. I've seen teachers do that before where they have station rotation and one of them is actually free time, but you give them a menu of choices within that. So it's not just go off and play any random game you want. But I think you'll get better with that as you go along too and you start having conversations with your colleagues about finding that delicate balance.
Sharon, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you feel like eventually, hopefully in the near future, there will be more programs and things out there that the district will have for us? Like we're just kind of on the edge of this coming? Or do you think it's going to be more like kind of find what works for you? Does that make sense?
Do you mean by programs, do you mean like installed software like the Dreambox and stuff like that that the district purchases?
Yeah.
You know, I can't answer that because I'm not with the actual tech department that makes all those decisions, but I know for sure that they're going to keep math and literacy as, you know, those two big pillars. And so, for example, Dreambox and 10 Marks, those support math. Some of those big programs like Reading A to Z that's used for literacy, I don't see that going anywhere. The district does have those core apps that they've invested in that are very high leverage that can be used across multiple disciplines that they really want students and teachers to use with fidelity. And some of those they are actually purchased, but I'm not quite sure how much of the actual software that they're going to invest in because of the new the devices that we're using are iPads now. And so that's what the students have. And since we're moving away from like a desktop labs, those kinds of things are, I don't want to say they're going away to the wayside, but by and large, iPads are going to be the direction for a while at least. And they're probably going to put more emphasis on some of those high leverage apps. And I don't even know, you know, like, are there certain programs that are purchased district-wide? There are some. Some are by content area at the secondary level. I couldn't even answer that for you, what's going to go down the pipeline. But I don't see us regressing back to a lab model, for example. There might be still some things that are accessible in the lab, like Read 180 or something. I don't know if our district uses Read 180, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a clear-cut answer on that. And I don't even know how decisions like that get made. Like, for example, the 10 Marks and the Dreambox was put forth by a proposal from Rose Palmer and Dan Paczynski, and that had to get board approval to purchase it for the district. So I don't know if that's the direction they're going to go, or if sites, for example, decide with funds that they want to purchase something just for higher elementary. I don't know how that works. That's something you definitely want to talk with your LMS about, and your librarian, and your principal.
Okay. I'm still just really stuck on the literacy piece. Like, I just really want to find something.
I know.
That ideally is in Spanish and helps to personalize for the kids so that it's not like, here, go on this app, but we don't necessarily know what they're on, or are they even at a level that's good for them, you know. Where Dreambox is like too good to be true because it does all of that for you, which is amazing. But how could we not have something for literacy? There's got to be something out there. Do you guys have
Raz Kids? Because I thought Raz Kids was also in Spanish.
Yes, it is.
Okay, but so that's one tool.
It's what? What'd you say, Krill?
It is. Rascas is in Spanish, but it's not enough because kids can get along with that. I mean, start playing around, and then it's really hard to measure if they're really good, doing a good job.
Okay.
But still, there is more out there in English than in Spanish, so I struggle a lot with that.
I don't know. I don't know for elementary, but my secondary teachers are starting to use Newsela.
Yeah,
And
Tracy's been looking into that.
They do have it now for Spanish.
Oh, hello.
So let me see if I can.
Yes.
Okay. When I go to Newsella, and I learned about this when I was at
ISTE. I'm doing a video chat for school.
When I go to Newsella, I can click over in the search bar and click on Spanish, and I can go by grade level. It looks like it starts at 2nd grade, so I'm going to go to 2nd grade, and I don't know. I can search by topic here, and these are all current events. I think they are all exiled as well. I don't know. They're getting better with the Spanish. They just released that, so I don't know if it's yet where you can key in a keyword search like money or something, and it would. Yeah, they're not up to par yet on that, but they're getting better. It's new, so they do have some. Another one is, do you guys use Achieve 3000?
Yeah, but that's for, I think at the beginning is 2nd grade, right?
Okay.
And 1st grader.
Yeah, and we're not buying it this year. Our building decided against it.
Okay.
So yeah, we did use it last year. But that's exactly the type of program that I'm talking about, Sharon, because it did adjust the articles to what the kids needed. There was comprehension. There was so much tied in that you really felt like that was a really solid way to use technology. You know, where sometimes it just feels more like we're hoping that it's going to be a good use, but it really depends on what that kid decides to do when you're not standing behind him or her.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
I don't know, correct. Learn Zillion. I'm not sure what grade that starts at.
That's a really great resource. I used to be at a school in Venezuela, and they use that a lot.
Yeah, we really like it for 3rd, but again, I'm not sure when it starts. So that might be one to look into, but I don't know about the Spanish either.
Can you write it down for me in the chat, and I can search and find out if it's gonna be good for my level?
Yeah, how do I write it down?
In the chat.
I'll write down that for you.
And the group.
Thank you. Okay.
Um,
Kieran did it.
This Tween Tribune is pretty good, but I don't know what the Lexiles. I mean, it looks like they start at 500, so that would probably be too high. But they do have it for Spanish. But they do have. What I like about it is you can choose your Lexile level. They do have quizzes that go along with them as well. And that's.
Did you write that one down, Trace?
Yep.
Okay.
Jumping over and looking at as we're talking.
Okay.
I got a list of apps from Jamie Martinez.
You call her Jamie Martinez?
Yeah, that's her new name.
That's her new name.
Erika's getting a new plate for her.
Yeah. I don't know who she shared it with, but I asked her about apps in Spanish because, you can't find any. And she shared a Google Doc, so I'll share it with you.
Okay, thank you.
So this page right here, when I was abroad, I was an IT teacher in Bangkok, and my kids would come I would integrate technology, but the kids would come into the lab for actual IT class twice a week. And there's a section on here just for iPad and apps, and then I've got tons and tons of websites, not just literacy, but by grade level. So you're welcome to use anything that's on here. All of these on the left-hand side are different links to different websites, and they go by grade level. And that's a lot of what I used to use with my kids.
I don't see it. Do you guys see what she's looking at? No.
Oh, sorry. Okay, let me go back and see if I can screen share. Oh, of course, let's see, entire screen. Whoa. Hold on here. Do you guys see now or no?
I can see now.
No. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So.
Oh, now it's not. Oh, now it's back. Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is just what I did over the last, well, I taught there for 2 years, and it was a work in progress, but um, I had this proto page set up by grade level. So some of you teach grade 3. This is a bunch of stuff that I have just for grade 3. There's a bunch of different language arts websites, things like that. Again, I didn't have iPads for the kids, so I don't know how much is, like flash based where it won't work on the iPad, but there's a section on just on iPad and apps, and there's tons and tons of links there. So feel free to steal anything if you get bored and you want to poke around. I'll just put the page link over here. So yeah. Finally, I think that's it. Where's my any other comments, any other questions before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I love that there's a group of us so that we can, work together and help each other through it, because it'd be really hard if you don't have somebody to talk to that knows what you're talking about. Tracy, I know you talked about, or maybe you did already talk to the new principal about the blended book study.
No, I didn't, but I would to do that and kind of loop him in, or us as a group too, sitting down with him and just sharing what we learned this summer too.
Yeah, can one of you send me his name or send me his email address or something, and I'll just introduce myself, because he's probably going to want to know what you guys have been working on. And I think we still have that date set in September, mid-September, to meet up just for to close out the study. Obviously, your work is going to continue, but I'd like to invite him as well. Because all I want to do there is collect any for those of you that are taking for credit, you're just going to want to choose one of those application options that are on the timeline that I sent out. There, on the second page of the timeline, there's a bunch of different menu of options, or you can choose a different one. And one of those could just be like a blog post, one could be a reflection, because obviously the work is going to continue for you throughout the whole year. You're going to apply what you're doing. But that's going to be our wrap up, but I would definitely like to invite him to that if he's available, and then he can kind of get caught up to speed about the text and what you guys have been doing.
Sounds good. Good.
All right.
Karen, do you know offhand which ones of us you have listed for credit?
Oh boy, is it Karen?
I'm not.
You're not.
I'm not.
I thought two of you were. One?
You two.
I'm hoping, but I don't know that my Carol stuff went through correctly, so I was just not sure if you knew.
What do you mean that it didn't go through correctly?
I don't know that it was paid for. Tracy said hers was, but I don't know if mine was.
Okay, so and I've only taken things for audit, so I've never actually paid for a class, but once you work with, and we're kind of severing ties with Carol, but this one will still wrap up with Carol. The woman to contact is Barb DeYoung, DeYoung. And what she'll probably do is she'll refer you to how to get into your own Carol account to look at your transcript, but she can also let you know if your payment was received. When I go to award credit, I know one person from my last blended group hadn't paid yet, so she said before I can give credit, this person needs to pay. So
I'll look into it,
and I can let me see here if I've got her email.
That's okay. I'll find her.
Yeah, she's really great. B. DeYoung. I'll just put her email address in here so you can see it. But she handles all the stuff about the collegial studies and stuff.
Okay, good enough.
So we'll keep that September date there, and I will contact. His name's Mark, right? The new principal. Okay, yep. I'll reach out to him and invite him through our invite, and if he can make it, that'd be awesome.
Are we meeting at higher? I don't remember.
Yeah, we'll just meet in the same place that when I came there in June.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, any other things?
Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah, everybody have a good night. Enjoy the.
Oh, good night.
Yeah. Enjoy the last.
Michael and my husband going at.
I know.
Enjoy the last few days before you guys got to go back. And thank you so much for taking the time. I know we're a little over time, but thanks so much again. And we'll see you in September.
Sounds good.
All right. Good night.
Thank you. Bye.